Leigh and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to show you a look that was very simple to achieve, something that you can wear every day. I wanted to do something really simple. This is like going to pick up the kids from school. This is like a grocery store look. I'm gonna run some errands today and I wanna look like, you know, I'm awake, I'm ready to be productive in the world. So I wanted something that was really simple, really let my own face shine through. So if you're interested in this look, keep on watching.
So these are the supplies you'll need to complete today's look. You'll need a priming mist or a setting spray, a primer, and a pore filling primer, your favorites, a color correcting concealer and a sheer foundation, a powder that's lightweight and has some color, a bronzer, a highlight, and a blush, a setting spray or two, your favorite brow products, a mid-tone brown eyeshadow and a shimmering pale eyeshadow, one light beige eyeliner and one black or brown eyeliner, your absolute favorite mascara, and a lip balm or gloss. You'll also need a few brushes like a powder brush, bronzer brush, highlighting brush, blush brush, and one fluffy eyeshadow brush, and maybe a sponge or two.
Okay, let's get started. I have very oily skin. I try to set it and forget it kind of situation. So in order to start that, when I prime my skin, I use a setting spray as a priming spray. Milani Make It Last setting spray is what I'm using currently. Concentrating on the center of my face. If you have very, very dry skin, you could use a dewy setting spray. If you have normal skin, you don't necessarily have to do that step. Next, I actually like to prime my skin. Even though I'm a little bit on the oily side, I don't really like primers that have a whole lot of silicones like the clear primers do. I like to use the Nivea Men's Post Shave Balm. It kind of gives my skin a layer of moisture. The more moisturized you are, the less oil your skin will produce. I like to tap it in and it becomes a little bit tacky and it helps the foundation stick to my face. And because I have larger pores, I like to put on a pore filling primer, and the Benefit Professional is my absolute favorite. I have used other brands, but this one is my favorite. I like to put that in the areas of my face that I have larger pores, which is here between my eyebrows, along my nose. I like to really rub it in there. I work it into my pores. So basically what this does is it just fills in the pores. No matter what you read, there's nothing on the market that's gonna make your pores smaller. They can get bigger, but once they do, they're kind of bigger forever. So I like to fill mine in, regardless if I'm doing no makeup at all really, or if I'm going full on. And then I put a little bit on my chin. Really working it in there. Even though I'm doing a very light makeup application today, I do tend to have a little bit of darkness underneath my eyes here. So I like to use a concealer that has a little bit of color correcting. Now for my pale skin tone, I like to use something that is a pink tone. Now the more darker you get, the more salmon or orange toned you're going to want to use. So if you're a mid-tone, a nice salmon color would be beautiful. If you're a deep rich tone, something that is very much more orange will help counterbalance any of the blueness that you have here. Now if you have more purpley tones instead of more blue tones, then you're going to want to use something more yellow or mustard underneath the eyes because it's going to counteract based on colors from the color wheel. So I'm going to apply just a little bit here, not too much, just in my darker areas. Now you can take a sponge or your finger and blend that out. I like to get in and then work it into the skin with a sponge, putting it up towards the eye. Trying not to pull too much, that is the most delicate area of your eye. I do have a lot of veining and darkness on my lids, so I take the remainder from that area, the remainder from blending it in and putting it on my eye lid, and doing the same to the other side. There we go. So already you can see that the under eye area looks a little bit more bright, a little bit more lifted. I also tend to get a little bit of darkness around my nose. So I'm going to do a couple of dots there. Again, we're just blending it around the nose, working it into the nose area. That fold between the nose and my cheek there is the hardest place to keep makeup on all day long. So I like to really work it into that area. The center of my face is just a little bit more bright than it was before. Next, we're going to go into a light sheer foundation. I prefer, for my skin type, a really sheer foundation for most days, even when I wear a little bit more over-the-top makeup looks or more involved or advanced makeup looks. I prefer a sheer foundation for my particular skin type. I use the Exuviance Cover Blend, though you can use whatever you like. So I put a couple of pumps out. Now, for a quick application, you can take a little bit on your fingertips and kind of dot it on all over, and then start rubbing it and patting it into the skin. Using fingertips helps really work it into the pores to make it look a little bit more natural. By using your fingertips, you're really going to work it into the skin. So we're just going to pat this in all over. You can rub. I like to apply it and then use patting motions all over to really work that into the skin, starting at the center of my face where I have the most discoloration, redness, that kind of thing, moving out to the edges. Now, if I feel that I want to just finish it up really quick, you can take a sponge. I like to grab whatever's left on my chin area and drag it down with the sponge, and then just smooth anything else out. Or again, you could finish it up with your fingertips, whatever you like. It's just evened me out. I don't look as red as I was before, but I'm not overly made up either. So next I'm going in with a powder to help set everything, a light wash of powder. Again, I'm oily, so this particular foundation does self-set and you don't necessarily need powder. There are some foundations out there that never set and you do need to put powder on. If you're also on the more dry side, maybe not setting it with powder is a good idea for you. But my makeup tends to need to be on all day and I don't have time to touch it up. So I use a powder. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Powder. Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. And I like to take just a little brush, tap it in, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap it in all over. You can also do this with a velour puff if you want, but you don't want to go in right away and swirl everything in, because it's just going to upset all the foundation that you just laid down. And I'm going to just tap it in all over. It's a lightweight powder, which is good. As my oils rise to the surface, it doesn't mix with it and make it look cakey, which is gross. So this particular powder does not do that. So after I set my powder, I want to bring a little bit of life. So what I've done is I've taken the color down, made it a little bit more even, though you can still see a little bit of the redness in my skin. You can still see, you know, more of a real skin finish come through. We want to take a little bit of bronzer and give a little bit more life to the skin. I currently use the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. Smells amazing, and it gives a little bit of color. The color is light bronzer, so it's good for my lighter skin tone, but it's not overly orange. And I like to just brush this along the cheek area just to bring in some life and color back. I like to go over the nose and then along my hairline here. There we go. There we go. Starts to create dimension back into the face, because guess what? We're 3D. I like to bring it down the neck a little bit. There we go. We brought some life back to the face. Okay, so next I like to do a little bit of highlighter. I'm using the Pixie by Petra in Delicious Dew. It's the Glowy Gossamer Duo. I like to take a brush, a fluffy brush like this, swirl it into kind of both colors, a little bit on, and then tap this into the skin, or buff it into the skin rather, on the high points of the face. Now I'm using this a little bit intensely because my final step is to go back in with a little bit more of that powder and really buff everything in to make it look all one. So I like to do a little bit more heavy-handed before I do that, but there you go. Put a little bit on the bridge of my nose, tip of my nose. You don't have to do that. So I have a little bit more of a wider set nose. So I like to bring attention into the center of the nose. So I put some on the bridge and the tip. You again don't have to do that. If you have a nose that is already upturned, doing this will make it look more upturned. If you already have a very thin nose, this will also accentuate the thinness of your nose. And if you don't want it to accentuate, you don't have to, but you can. You can highlight wherever you want on their face. Put some on the Cupid's bow here. Again, we're just bringing light to the face. Ooh, it's intense. So I always like to put on highlighter before blush because I like to mix my blush into my highlighter. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of a pink blush. I like a cool tone pink. So this color right here from the Makeup Geek Flawlessly Ever After palette in, for porcelain skin tones. And I'm going to really work this in to the cheekbone area, going over again that highlights. So we got life back into the face. And again, right now it looks a little bit crazy, but we're gonna bring it down. So once you feel like you got those three things on, a little bit of bronzer, a little bit of brush, a little bit of highlight, we're gonna go back into the powder. Again, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish, and we're gonna take the powder brush after we've set anything and we've applied everything. I'm gonna go back in with some powder, and what I'm gonna do is I'm really gonna buff everything in. Now this powder has a little bit of color to it, which is what you want for this step. A translucent powder doesn't really work for this. A little bit of color, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna buff everything in. So the light color of the powder basically puts a wash over it, kind of like a filter, over everything that you just did. And the buffing motions help create a little bit of friction and heat on the skin, and it helps meld everything together, making it look one. So as you can see, by buffing it in, I look a lot less intense than I just did. So I love this step. It's my favorite step. It brings everything back to natural. So you want to really buff it in, but you don't want to like grind it in hard. I like to put it just on the surface of the skin and really work it in. See that? You don't have to ground it in like this. Again, you want to just put it on your skin and then lightly swirl all over until you get a nice buffed in finish. And this is a very lightweight powder, so it's not going to cause any cakiness or over buildup. So as you can see, what that has done is just created a nice blend of everything. So once I feel like it looks decent, I like it, I like to go back in and do an actual setting spray like we did first step. I always take MAC Fix Plus. It's one of my favorites. I love the spray on it and I love the finish it gives. And what we're going to do is do a light spray of the skin. And then we're going to fan it in and let it dry. Next, I'm going to use the Make It Last Milani Setting Spray. Now, I find the sprayer on this particular bottle that I bought is not that great. So I like to actually spray it on a sponge, tap a little bit on my hand, and I like to go in and just tap it over everything. So the first setting spray is used to really take down any powderiness that you might have and give a little bit of glow back into the skin, and the Make It Last setting spray is a setting spray to help with long wear, longevity of the makeup. I find that the MAC Fix Plus for me doesn't give me long wear for foundation. So that's really the face base completely done. Explaining it to you guys made it go a little bit longer, but really it's not really a long process at all. I can probably do a quick base in about 5 to 10 minutes. So next we're going to move on to eyes. I always like to do a little bit of brow filling in, and I am currently using the IT Cosmetics Brow Power in Universal Taupe and the Ulta Brow Shaping Gel from Ulta Beauty. Now, with any kind of look, even if you're going to not use any eyeshadow or mascara, filling in the brows is going to help give it a little bit of a completed, more polished look. So I like to go in and do some brow filling in. Very light, not going to take too long. I already have really bushy eyebrows. I don't need a whole lot of filling in. If you don't have any eyebrows, or if you have very little, this step might take just a little bit longer. You could use anything that you like, a powder or whatever, but just see lightly filling them in gives my eyes just a little bit more of a pop. Buffing foundation over them kind of brings down the color, dulls them a little bit, so this brings a little bit of color. And like I said, I have really bushy eyebrows, so I need a little bit of a brow gel to get in there and lay the hairs down so that they don't go crazy all day. There we go. Okay, so for eyeshadow, we're going to keep it really super simple. I'm going to use just basically two colors. I'm going to use a mid-tone gray base brown, like this one. It is called Birthday Suit, and I think it's by Morphe, though you can use any kind of brown. I like, for this step to look a little bit more natural, I like it to be a little bit more on the taupe side, a little bit more gray. Something that is a little bit more on the warm tone side could look a little bit too orange in the eye. However, if you are of a skin tone that is more yellow toned, warm toned, using a more warm toned brown would totally work. Something like Birkin by Anastasia Beverly Hills. So you can see the difference in color. This one is a lot more cool toned than this particular one. This is warm toned, and I do really love both of these colors for different reasons, but today we're going to use the more cool toned shade. I like to take a overall fluffy brush. This one is a natural hair brush. It's really old, by Bare Minerals. I don't even know what kind of brush it is, but it is a fluffy natural hair brush. I take a little bit on the tip of the brush, and then I'm going to go in. I have a little bit of hooded eye, so I like to raise my eyelid, and I'm just going to put this into the crease of the eye. I'm not going to go too dark with this or be too precise. This just creates a little bit of dimension into the eye socket to give my eye some depth. And you can see I'm going really fast to this. I'm not even really looking in the mirror while I do this. Here we go. I'm going to take a little bit of a more fluffy brush and kind of just buff out the edges there a little bit. As you can see, it created just a little bit of depth into the eye, a little bit of interest into the eye area. So next we're going to take a shimmering tone. I'm using ColourPop. I like these two tones right here. This one is Acorn. It is more of a cream shade, and then this one is Copilot, which is more of a pinky tone. I'm going to go in with Acorn today. Now you can use all kinds of colors for this. This is Makeup Geek's Shimma Shimma. It is also a very beautiful shade. This one is a powder formula, and the ColourPop formula is more of a cream to powder. There are lots of nice light shades that you can use. I like to put that on the eyelid. It creates a little bit of reflection and interest in the eye, so it looks like we did try something today, that we did add a little something into here today. Now you can get a lot of palettes that you might already own that have both of these kinds of colors in there. A mid-tone, a very light to mid-tone brown, and a shimmery pale shade. So if you're more of a, now as you progress down the spectrum of human skin tones, you can go with a darker brown shade and a slightly different shimmer shade. If you are more mid-tone, you can go with something a little bit more champagne, a little bit more gold. And if you are of a deeper skin tone, you can use a much darker, more cocoa brown with a nice beautiful gold shade on the lid. Something that's just going to give a little bit of dimension to the eye without looking overdone. So for this step, I like to use my finger, so I'm going to take Acorn by ColourPop, go in with my finger, my ring finger, which is your weakest finger, and I'm going to go in and just tap this over the lid. So once I get a good base down, I'm going to take my ring finger again and just kind of blend it in lightly over the area where that pale shade, that pale sheen shade meets the brown. And there you go. As you can see, this eye looks a little bit more bright, a little bit more awake, a little bit more open. If you're using these ColourPop eyeshadows, you do need to be sure that you do cover them tightly. So next we're going to line the eyes. I think this is really important if you're going for more of an awake, just alert kind of look. So I like to take a light eyeliner like this. You can use a white one. This one is a beige tone. As you can see, it's a beige tone. This is the 24/7 Waterline Eye Pencil in Walk of Shame by Urban Decay, but you can use any beige tone. And what we're going to do is we're going to line the waterline with this. So you're going to pull down the eye. You can also use a sponge if you want, but you're going to lightly pull down your eye and apply it to your waterline. know this looks so scary. So as you can see, it really makes a bright difference from this eye to this eye. It looks a little bit more open and awake. So we're gonna go ahead and do the other one. So I like to add a little bit of a finish to the upper lash line. So I'm gonna use a little bit of a eyeliner. The NYX Epic Ink is one of my favorite liquid liners. It is black. I do have really long eyelashes, and this kind of creates a nice base for when I put on my mascara. But if you don't want something as harsh as black, you can use a brown. You can go with a pencil, you can go with a gel eyeliner, you can go with any kind of eyeliner that you like. I like a black eyeliner, and I like the Epic Ink, and I'm going to use a magnified mirror to do this. And just what I want to do is do a very light line on my upper lash line. Very close to the lashes. So it just creates a finished, kind of slightly polished look to the eye. You can see it gives a little bit more of a dimension from this eye to this eye. Kind of just finishes it off. Now for liquid eyeliner with a tip like this, using it like this might be a little bit hard, so I like to turn it on its side and kind of just stamp along the lash line to create a nice line. So just stamping along the lash line gives you a nice precise line going in smaller sections. There we go. You can see it really gives a finishing touch to the upper lash line. And finally, we're just going to throw on a coat or two of your favorite mascara, and you're good to go. Mascara I'm using today is the Benefit Cosmetics Roller Lash, and it gives me a curl to my lashes, and it gives a nice wispy feel to it. Now, if I'm going for a more made-up look, I will go in with a second mascara to give me some more thickness, but as you can see, it gives me just a little bit of a wispy lash, which I like. So I love this mascara. It's one of my favorites. I like to start at the base and work my way up, kind of blinking into the mascara wand and letting the mascara wand kind of do all the work for me. Also, I like to push my lashes into the center towards my nose. Creates a more open-eyed effect, and then I like to fan them out on the outer edge. There you go. That is it. As a final touch, throw on some lip balm or a lip gloss, whatever you like. Some EOS lip balm. I have, if you want a lip gloss with a little bit of color, I have MAC Cosmetics Oyster Girl. It is a nice pale shade with a little bit of shimmer to it. You can use any lip product that you feel comfortable with, a nice nude lipstick, or you could do a nude lipstick, you can do a gloss, you can do nothing if you want, whatever you have time. Some Blistex, some lip balm, some Carmex, whatever you got, just moisturize your lips and you'll be good to go. Okay guys, this is the finished look. Natural skin, glowing, healthy, look like you got 8 hours and you drink your 8 glasses of water kind of look. So I do thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below if you decide to do this look. Let me know what you think of the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I can't wait to see you for the next video. Thanks.